Hello everyone, very good morning. I welcome you all. My name is Shreya. I'm one of the senior career advisor at Protest Professional Training. And before we start, let me give you a quick overview about us. Protest is the certification institute which provide upskilling courses to the professionals like HR generalist, HR analytics, POSH train the trainer to deliver POSH trainings, business analytics for managers, a corporate trainer and facilitator certification program, certified practitioner coach certification program, emotion intelligence trainer and coach certification program, as well as organizational development and change management certification program. We also provide customized programs, and all our programs are accredited by the top most global certification bodies of SHRM, HRCI, CPD, IBAC, and ICF. I'm so glad to see many existing students, team members, and aspiring students of ProTouch who has joined this learning session. Now let's begin this learning session with Beg and Udita, the guest speaker of today's morning. So I would like to take a moment to introduce everyone with our today's guest speaker, starting with Beg. Beg has over 3 decades of extensive experience spanning strategic and operational HR roles in professionally managed organization, proven track record in entire gamut of HR. His last associate was Bharti Airtel Foundation as head HR and in the past with Apollo Tires and Electrolux. And he's a postgraduate in personal management with various certifications in HR, learning and development, and training from XLRI, SP Jain, SHRM, and HRCA. Coming to Udita, Udita is a airline professional with more than 30 years of experience in multifaceted and specialization in airline sales, revenue management, and commercials operation. Presently, she is working with Emirates Airline and based in the airline headquarters in Dubai. Her latest assignment aims at driving change management with a wider stakeholders and conducting trainings to help them to adapt them, revamp sales optimization systems and processes. With her latest certification from ProTouch, she is actually aiming to establish herself as a full-time corporate trainer and facilitator. It's an honor to have Beg and Udita with us today morning. Over to you, Beg.
Thank you so much, Shreya, for this wonderful introduction. And so I don't have anything to add more to this. And I welcome all the participants to the session on behalf of myself, on behalf of my co-facilitator, Udita. And we are sure we will be uh, able to give you some actionable skills which you can use in future, and we will also together try to develop some new insight into the topic, which is the art of receiving feedback. And we can start slides now. So today's topic, the art of receiving feedback. uh, I believe, if we go to our childhood, then we go to school, then we to go colleges, and then we come to our workplace and start working. Wherever we are there, we have been, always experienced that someone tells us, do this, don't do this is good to do, this is not good to do this, from childhood till now. And why it is done? Because certain behavior is not acceptable, certain action not acceptable, certain actions are good and acceptable. So we get both kind of feedback, whether it is good or whether it is bad. So let's move to the next slide, wherein during next 1 hour we will be taking through this session, and probably the participants at the end of the session will understand the importance of feedback. So how, what feedback is, why it is important, and then during feedback we will learn to techniques, how to take feedback for our growth and development, and how to manage our emotions, how to manage our communication during the feedback session, and we will also be able to learn what kind of action plan and how we should be framing an action plan for post our feedback session. When we receive the feedback, how we have to process it. And once we are through with the session, we will come back to this slide and see what all objectives we have made. So at this point in time, this is what we have defined the learning objective of the session. But anyone in the group, if they have something else in the mind that they would like to be, uh, added, so let us know, please. If time permits, we'll try to include that also if possible. So anyone from the audience, from the participants would like to add anything? And my humble request to all the participants and audience to keep their cameras on. That will help us interact better. That will make the session more interactive. And we will also feel that, we have human beings in front of us rather than those black windows. So anyone would like to say anything, you can use chat box, you can unmute yourself and say something and then mute yourself. Keep your cameras on, please, and keep yourself muted. So no response coming in. So we will be moving to the next slide. And so let me ask everyone, whenever the word feedback comes to you, what the other word comes to your mind first? One single word, whenever you see feedback, what is the word that comes to your mind first? So 28 of us are here. And so, yeah, it has started. So Kishan is saying improvement, Sagar is saying improvement, thank you, suggestion. Please keep on writing in the chat box. Advice, improvement, suggestion, learning, suggestion and learning. So whatever understanding, so whatever the responses have come, they are all correct. And so yes, feedback. If we have to understand the concept, we can move to the next slide. So if we have to understand the concept of feedback, feedback is a two-way process wherein there is a person who is giving the feedback and there is a person who is receiving the feedback. So before coming to explaining the concept, let me explain this way that there are and we will discuss this feedback received in a corporate and business scenario. Though feedback is there in our personal life, but we'll most focus on our feedback receiving process in our professional life only. So, in today's world, there are tough, stiff, cutthroat competitions among organizations in the same sector. If we go to auto sector, there will be various other organizations. If we go to beverage sector, there will be various other organizations. If we go to education sector, there will be various other organizations competing with each other. In today's world, you can buy everything. You can buy the technology, you can hire best of the technology firm to put latest technology in your organization. You can buy best of the softwares, you can buy best of the raw material, you can buy best of the machines, etc., etc. And everyone with the help of money can do that. But what is the differentiating factor between two different organizations? What differentiate them from one to another? Why some organization is successful? Why some organization is not so successful? If we try to find the answer, we will say the only differentiating factor is their people, their employees who are working for the organization, because this is the only factor which actually over a period of time appreciates. Every other factor in production or in business or in services over a period of time depreciates, but only the human capital, what we call today, is over a period of time it appreciates. And how it appreciates? It's appreciates because lot of interventions, lot of input goes into that. And performance management system is one such input that goes, which comprises of lot many things. You're defining goals, KRAs, your feedback, your self-assessment, the output, the rating, the promotion, etc., etc. But feedback is a very essential part of overall frame of performance management system. And then feedback itself has a process at various steps, and within that we will be covering receiving feedback. So feedback is an ongoing process in any organization wherein the manager or the supervisor sits with the team member and tells him what he has done good, what he has not done so good, and how the he can or she can improve further, he can improve her performance, he can do better in future. So it's a communication process between the supervisor and the team member, and the idea is to development of the person. The idea is how the person can do better for the organization in future. What are the areas that the person needs to improve? It can be on her performance, it can be on her behavior, it can be on her uh, when it comes to behavior, it can be punctuality, it can be regularity, it can be team relationship, it can be interpersonal relationship, it can be communication skill, etc., etc. It can be her or his ethical practices. So lot many things can be there, including her performance, KRS, what she has done well, so what she has not done. I So that is what about feedback is. So, and before we move to the next slide, any question at this point in time? Anyone who feels to ask, please raise your hand, and then you can go ahead with your question. We'll try to the best of our knowledge to answer that question. Anyone at this point in time? Any question? If not, we can move because we have, a time frame of 1 hour, so we have to cover
I think
everything.
Big Krishnan Kumar has a question. He's raised
Yes,
his
Kishan,
hand.
please go
Yeah.
ahead.
Hello, am I audible to you?
Yes, yes, very much.
Okay, so as you are asking and saying about the feedback, I have one question. Like, whenever a senior person want to take a feedback from junior, so how he can take a positive feedback, like, and implement that thing?
So, as far as the feedback is concerned, there is a concept called 360-degree feedback, right? So, 360-degree feedback means, so there are various. There is a feedback which is called 90-degree, which is most prevalent. 90-degree feedback means the manager or the supervisor is giving the feedback to the to the team member. Then there is a 180-degree feedback wherein the supervisor is giving the feedback and the peer level people are also giving the feedback. And then 360-degree wherein the team member gives feedback to the supervisor. So it is, we will, in subsequent slide, we will see that what are those tools and techniques to receive feedback. But feedback, whether it is a team member, whether it is my manager, whether my peer level people, or whether my external customers, whosoever they are, receiving feedback, you have to have lot many things in place to receive the feedback and work upon them. In subsequent slide, we will deal with it. But for all level, actually, the idea remains the same. I will not actually, it will be something like jumping the gun at this point in time if I get into details, but your questions will certainly be answered in subsequent slide. If not answered, then you can tell us it has not been answered. We'll try to answer it to your satisfaction.
All right.
So anyone else move, we can move to the next slide, and we will do a little bit of, interaction with each. This is the feed, and then next slide. What is the next slide? I think.
Yeah, I think
So there
quickly
is a,
this. There's a
Uh,
previous one which is on the importance of, yeah, this one.
Before important, there was an activity, right? Which uh, So there's an activity, and so I think some slide updation. So there was an activity. So yeah, this was the activity, and then again we will briefly discuss. So anyone of you, some of you can share your experiences of receiving feedback, and uh, so in brief, anyone would like to share their experiences of receiving feedback. It can be in classroom, it can be in office setup, it can be anywhere. We will try to understand and explain. That will help us. Let me tell you one thing. If you only hear me, you will have, reasonably fair knowledge about receiving feedback. If you participate in the activities, you will also develop skills. So the idea of this session is not only giving you and bombarding you and loading you with the knowledge. The idea is to skill you also in this. So request all of you to please be participative. Yeah. So Umang, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Beg. So actually, I would like to recognize the point which you mentioned and starting that since childhood we receive feedbacks, right? I think it plays a very important role because when you used to be a child, at that time we used to receive feedback from our parents for the first time. They used to tell us that you should not play on roads, you should not eat junk foods, you should not do that, you should focus upon your studies, right? Till the time right now, we are getting feedbacks from our seniors that you should do this way, that will help you to improve yourself. So I believe since childhood, whosoever has grown, I think everybody has grown since childhood till the time, and that is all depending upon the feedbacks they have received. That is all depending upon the areas of improvement that they have worked. So if I can compare myself from the day when I was 10 years old and right now when I'm at this age, there's an improvement and that depends upon the feedbacks that I have received. So I believe since childhood and even till the time we are there into the world, we should respect the feedback because one thing that Aparna ma'am always says that everybody has some courage to give feedback because it's not about the feedback taker, it's all about feedback giver. He gathers that courage to give the feedback. So I believe that we should respect the person who is giving feedbacks and we should take it very positively. This is what I believe in. That's it.
So I think Umang has a very positive experience about receiving feedback, and he appreciates the process of feedback. And he has very rightly said, feedback is for improvement that we should always keep in mind. Anyone else would like to share? 29 of us are here, including both of us and uh, Kashish and Shreya from Luzia from protest team. So almost 24, 25 participants are there. Anyone else would like to share? Otherwise, we will move to the next slide and over to Udita.
Shreya, maybe you can move to the two slides behind. And thank you, Big, for that wonderful explanation. And hello, everyone. I'll take the session forward here for a bit from Big here now. Okay, now that we've heard the concepts of feedback and why, I mean, what really entails a feedback, let's also consider why is it so important in our professional lives to receive a feedback? Any thoughts, anyone? Would anyone like to share any thoughts? You can put it in the chat or you can even just raise your hand. Yes, Punam, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, Aditya. Am I audible to you?
Yes, very audible. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good. Yeah.
So, how the feedback is important because it will, first of all, help us to improve ourselves, whether we are in a professional manner, whether it's a personal life as well. So, whenever we take feedback, it is important how we are taking that feedback. So, it is important because it will help you to improve us. That is my understanding about the how we can take the feedback.
Absolutely. Yes, Kashish?
I was about to say the same that Poonam mentioned. Like it obviously helps us to improve us what we are doing
Yeah,
currently. But if someone is giving us a feedback, it will be a better thing for us to work on those things and make our work better.
absolutely right, Kashish. Yes, Krishan, please go ahead.
Okay, so sometimes like we got a positive feedback also, right? That give us appreciation and we willing to do that thing more actively. So that is also
Very,
one of the
very
thing.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah. It gives you, you can compete with your own self
yeah,
and to excel better, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Please go ahead, Janvi. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I think, according to me, feedback is something that you're trying the solution of your problem. If someone is giving
Yes,
you the
that's right.
feedback, so you can you can solve the problem, whatever you're facing, not only in my personal life, but also in my professional.
Exactly. Thank you very much, everyone. And yes, it is the importance of feedback is a combination of what all of you all have, come up with. So let's deep dive and take a look at what is the importance, underlying importance of receiving feedback in the professional life. It is about, it's about, how do I say, it's like about your, it's a measure of your performance at work, and also for documentation for your future, to monitor your future progress along the years, right? So it can form an important and a tangible tool, serve as an important and tangible tool for measuring your performance at work. The other thing is, like, if you're already, like, in a work setup, it's about identifying your training needs or a training intervention. Now, let's take an example of a marketing executive who's been excellent at her job. She's been, but for some reason, she's not able to generate the leads or convert them. So, across a feedback session with her superior, the superior actually identifies that she could possibly be lacking in the digital marketing tools or knowledge. So then she nominates her for these particular trainings like digital, which can empower her to do her job even better. They work around an action plan, monitor it, measure it, and of course, she's been able to turn around her performance and she's been able to convert better leads. So that's how important it is in terms of training interventions or in improving the performance, so to say. The other a very important thing about a feedback at work is it opens up the channel of conversation or communication. It opens up the lines of communication between a superior and a subordinate. It helps in goal setting. And setting expectations around the employee, and what is expected of him. At the same time, it's also a very good platform to acknowledge the employee's work when they have it done exceedingly well, to recognize the employee. Then it's about, increasing job satisfaction, because if you are, let's say there is a situation where you're given a feedback which is positive by your boss. It is so exhilarating, it's such a great experience, that you would want to excel further and not just stop at doing what you're already doing on day to day basis. So it's a great way of, getting that motivation up as well. In terms of cultivating an at organization's culture, it promotes a growth mindset, because anybody who's given a feedback would want to excel further. It only is a win-win for your organization, because everybody's trying to up their game and managing their performance even better. So all in all, it helps the culture of the organization when you have everybody who's performing well.
So can I add few lines here, actually, Udita?
Yeah, yeah, sure,
So,
sure.
Kishan, you have said that we receive good feedback also. But improvement is not only about the areas that have been identified for improvement. We have to if we are doing something well, then we have to further hone up that skill. If I am good in communication skill today, I have to keep on honing this communication skill, because 10 years from now, my current level of communication skill will not be sufficient enough for me at that level. So it's not about the areas of improvement where we work. So that certainly is the first action plan can be that areas of improvement needs to be breached and we have to do better in those areas. But what we are doing well, actually, that also we have to keep on honing, right? Today I may be a marketing executive, I am not managing a team, so there won't be any feedback. But to be a branch manager over next 2 3 years, to be the regional head over next 5 6 7 8 years, to be the marketing head and the CEO of the organization down the line 15 years 20 lines, so we have to keep on actually honing up our existing areas where we are doing good, because at times it is said that whenever someone is promoted or elevated in the hierarchy, so and 6 months down the line, the what is the comment at times? We have lost a good salesperson and we have got a very bad sales manager, right? So we have to let us clear this myth from our mind that we have feedback is only for areas of improvement. Let's not be, in that what we called fool's paradise, that if we are doing good on certain parameters, we don't have to improve. We have to keep on improving in areas where we are currently good to remain relevant few years from now. So yes, we
Thank
can
you,
move
Vik. That
forward.
was very, very insightful. Of course, you're an experienced HR professional, so there's a lot of input from you there. Okay, let's. Sorry, is everybody clear on this one? Any questions on this slide or anything in terms of what surrounds the importance of the feedback? Would anybody like to comment or say anything or contribute in any way? If not, we can move on to the next slide. Now, what entails a performance feedback process? It always entails two people, two sides. One is a superior, and one is the, so you can say one is a feedback giver and one is a feedback receiver. Now, what is it that a feedback giver needs to do? He needs to prepare for the feedback, right? Based on the performance. It could be a positive, it could be not a negative, but a more constructive feedback. And then he delivers the feedback to the candidate. This is where the most important link is receiving the feedback. And that is what we are all talking about today, how to constructively receive a feedback, because this is the main link based on which your future action will depend. So if you take the feedback constructively, you can move ahead and improvise. And similarly, for a positive feedback, if you take that feedback, you can excel even better and form an action plan and go around measuring your performance. And then this is a cycle. Then you come back to ground zero, prepare for a feedback. So this is how the entire process works. Next slide, Shreya.
And in fact, if we get into all the four steps, it will be too lengthy session, and therefore we have to restrict ourselves to that the one in bold, that receiving feedback. So we are restricting ourselves to one single piece in the entire feedback process, which is receiving feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, while it is very important to receive feedback, okay, but across the line, I feel superiors also face a lot of challenges. It is not just the superiors, it's also the person who's receiving the feedback can also be challenged with his own self and how he perceives or receives the feedback. So each individual is different. Not everybody is in the same at the same level in an organization. Plus, as in personalities, we are very different from each other. Now, there are some people who may have the fear of criticism or failure, which they associate with, let's say, a job insecurity, that their job is not safe. If they are being, shown that there are gaps in their performance, they may not take it very constructively. So they may kind of close themselves to taking any feedback. Or there could be people who already feel that they're doing a fantastic job, and they can go on a defense mechanism during a feedback process to try and prove that they're already doing a great job, and they see no room. So that rather than becoming a constructive feedback becomes an argumentative feedback as well sometimes. Then there are some people, I mean, of course, people who have been in their jobs for longer, they've been doing the same function day in and day out, are very resistant to change. They are pretty much in their comfort zone and they don't want to adopt anything new. So it can be quite a challenge to turn them around, to turn their mindset. So I mean, these are some of the challenges which happen where they feel that, okay, why should we explore the uncertain? Why should we venture into an unknown territory? And that can come across as a roadblock during a feedback process where they do not take it positively at all. Sometimes it's also about doubting the intentions of the feedback giver, because they could possibly not be getting along at work as a superior and a subordinate, or they could have been preconceived notions by the feedback receiver about their expertise or their knowledge or their experience, where they feel they are not so up to the mark to give them a feedback, and they may not take it constructively. So this, they can immediately just push back, so that can inhibit your entire feedback process as well. I'll hand over the bit to Mirza Beg. Yeah.
Yeah, so before I, take up the, three bullet points are still there. So before I start, so let me ask one question to all of you. And it's a very simple, common question, and we keep on hearing this, idioms and phrase that which is the safest place for a ship to be at? If it is at, port, it it is the safest place. But if it ventures into sea, it's not that very safe place for a ship, right? Because there can be storms, there can be tsunami, and there can be a Titanic kind of thing where the ship can get drowned. But is the port harbor is the place for which a ship is kept? And if the ship is kept continuously in a port and harbor, what happens over a period of time? अगर एक जहाज पानी का अपनी जगह पे ही खड़ा है, जिसको बंदरगाह कहते हैं हिंदी पे, वहीं पे खड़ा करके हम रखेंगे तो उसको कभी कोई नुकसान नहीं होगा। मगर क्या नुकसान होगा? कोई होगा नुकसान?
Yes, yes, Mr. Beg, I wanted to add something.
Yeah, please. Right.
So, for example, if a ship is at the port, okay, that is of no use, and that has, I don't think that has any use of that. So जिस चीज के लिए वो बनाई गई है, जिस चीज के लिए उस चीज को बनाया गया है या लोगों ने उसके ऊपर मेहनत की है, अगर वो पोर्ट पे ही खड़ी रहेगी तो उसकी कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है, लोग
Correct.
उसको वैल्यू नहीं करेंगे। हाँ, वो अपने कंफर्ट जोन में जरूर रहेगी, इट विल स्टे इन योर इट कंफर्ट जोन, बट इट विल बी ऑफ नो यूज। Secondly, if it has to enter into the ocean, if it has to travel from one place to another, obviously there will be some difficulties, there will be some challenges, there will be some storms which can come in the way where it is going. But still, at that particular point of time, if the person who is driving that should understand the importance of feedback, because obviously he would be trained to ride the ship. So if he has the importance of feedback, if he has learned that thing particularly, I think he will take that ship to the right destination on time. So I believe if we have to stay in comfort zone, I think there is no value of ours. But if we have to enter into the ocean and we have to, hustle for the best, I think feedbacks are going to be very important in our journey. That's what I would say.
Yeah, so very rightly said, and I will add one thing here and then move to the next point. That if the ship continues to remain at the harbor or the port, its base gets rusted over a period of time. So then loses its value for future also. So we have to get out of our comfort zone and be open. So next is low esteem or self worth. So you will find there are a lot of people who have low self esteem. Low self esteem would mean that people think that they are not good people, they are not performing well, they are not contributed to overall organizational objectives. So these kind of people, what happens, the challenge here is whenever there is a feedback coming in, and if it is a constructive feedback, the person actually moves along with the person who is giving feedback. He's saying these are the areas of improvement. The person agrees, she agrees with the feedback giver that that okay, I'm not doing well. These are the people actually who put in extra hour, extra time, extra effort to be perfectionist. They would like to be perfectionist, or whatever they would like, they do, they see that is not good enough. So this is a major challenge in terms of, because feedback is always a two-way process. It's not that one person is bulldozing the other person, which is actually the next point, that overwhelmed with too much feedback. Uh, any one of you who all are in different corporates will have heard of ongoing feedback mechanism, because a lot of organizations, a lot of progressive organizations rather, they are moving from annual and biannual performance appraisal system to ongoing feedback system, because they feel if it is given once in a year, it has some value and is helpful, but is not that helpful. So therefore, they feel that feedback should be an ongoing process. It should be a continuous process, and there should not be a time frame that this will happen in April, or this will happen in September, or will happen in January, or will happen in December. So that should not be the case, because what happens, uh, if it is being feedback is being given uh, on a particular date and as part of a particular process of the overall implied development process. So what happens is a lot of things gets accumulated over a period of 6 months or 1 year, right? And then the manager actually bulldozer team member with all those things, good, bad, or whatever. And then what happens is the person who is receiving the feedback, it becomes difficult to internalize everything. 10 things given, probably she will miss out, he will miss out on 3 4 things. So it has to be that's another challenge. So it has to be in fact ongoing, and ongoing and continuous process. So lot of feedback giving given at one point in time is a challenge, because the receiver may not be able to internalize every other feedback that has been given. And then another challenge is misinterpret. So if the feedback giver is not trained enough, doesn't have a very good, clear, concise communication skill, is not able to, uh, put the right word into the feedback, that can be misinterpreted. At times, it can be uh, constructive feedback can be perceived as a positive feedback, or a positive feedback can be perceived as uh, constructive feedback. So misinterpretation of what is being told and what is being received is another challenge that comes across while receiving feedback. We have all talking about feedback, but and we are when we say feedback giving is very important, feedback receiving is very, very important, but is it that simple to receive feedback? That's what we are trying to explain through this slide. So it's not that simple, and if these are the challenges, how we will overcome, that we will see in subsequent slides. So I think next slide goes to uh, huh, activity. Then we have an activity which Udita will take you through. So over to you, Udita.
Sure, thank you. Shreya, I think that can we go to the activity part, the ABC? Okay, now we have a small case study and we would like your input on this. First of all, would anybody like to go
I
with the
think
slide and
there
just
will
read
be
it out?
this one, or there will be other one.
Can we go a few slides behind? 1 minute. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Okay. I think this we've already done big. This is
Acha,
about
okay, then right,
feedback they have
right.
received. Yeah. So it's back to that one. So here
Then
we have a
we
case
will have
study,
to
guys.
actually, yeah. Then we will have to switch. This will actually link when we do the other slide first, and then. So
Okay. One slide behind. Thanks. Over to you, Big.
yes. Next, no, no, the art of receiving feedback is the slide. Next slide, please.
The process. Yeah. This one.
So processing the feedback, like we have seen that there are enough challenges involved in the process of feedback. So if we are receiving feedback, what is it that we should do so that we receive the feedback well, and we process the feedback, and then prepare our action plan, and then improvement over a period of time can be seen. We work on those action plans. So first thing is, we have to acknowledge that the feedback that is being given, we have to acknowledge, we have to understand and appreciate the feedback, right? So anyone who is giving and we have to understand, in a sense, if a feedback is being given, we have to understand why it is being given, why a particular feedback is being given. We can and not give excuses. For example, if a feedback is being given to me, that and I'm a sales executive, and the feedback is being given to me that my relationship with my customer is not good, and then I become defensive and start giving excuse. No, sir, my relationship with customer is extremely fine. I always respect them. I value them. I treat them very well. But वो वाला जो dealer है ना, वो ही बहुत बदमाश है sir. वो his behavior is always rude. The moment I land at his dealership or shop, he actually gives me a very sarcastic look, and that puts me off. No, so that should not be the idea. Actually, if I am being given a feedback, I should actually see why exactly, and then I'm covering actually the entire slide in my talk, so the points will be varying. So, in that case, uh, no, it's not a tennis game. Feedback receiving. कि आपको the manager has given you feedback. The ball is in your court, and then you hit back the ball, and then the ball goes to the manager's court. No, excuses will not work, because if we keep on giving excuses, there won't be any. So that means there is no acceptance of the feedback, and then if there is no acceptance of the feedback, there won't be any improvement, right? And if that is the case, we don't agree with the manager, then we can always ask for clarity. Sir, if you are saying my behavior is not good with my customers or dealers or distributors, so can you please give me few examples that which dealer I have misbehaved with, which dealer I have misbehaved, what was the incident that has come to your knowledge. If you can explain, then probably it will be better for me to understand the circumstances, and probably I'll be able to you know be aware of the circumstances, and then probably it will be easier for me to work upon that. Otherwise, giving only excuses will not help. We don't have to be defensive, we don't have to give excuses. And another thing is linked to this excuse bullet only, that we have to be aware of our responses. When I say responses here, I would emphasize more than our verbal communication, I will emphasize on our body language. Are we sitting closed? Are we sitting open? Because body language plays a very important role in overall communication. Communication, three different types: verbal, written, and body language. So, are we showing disrespect, or are we giving a body language कि what the hell you are talking? बोल नहीं रहा हूँ मैं, but अंदर अंदर सोच रहा हूँ what the hell are you talking? यार, this is absolutely wrong. So, we have to be very positive in terms of our body language. We have to maintain a very positive demeanor of ourselves, taking the feedback seriously. Similarly, we have to actually try to understand why the feedback is coming. Take it seriously means take note what is it that is being given, ask for clarity, and we should also do a self evaluation. That okay, an honest self evaluation. The problem is uh, we all in feel that we are the best, right? मुझसे अच्छा एम्प्लॉय इस कंपनी में और कोई है नहीं, मगर रेटिंग उसकी अच्छी होती है, प्रमोशन उसको मिलता है, मुझे नहीं मिलता. Isn't it that the people who are there in corporate have always this feeling? I am the best employee, but somehow my manager is very partial, is not fair, and I am the best employee. That happens actually, right? Umang is giving me a smile, Kashish is giving me a smile, so that I take as validation of my point. So that's very common. We all experience it. Even schools, mein, colleges, mein, people will say, "Isko pata nahi professor why she likes her or why he likes her or likes him." Or every other activity or responsibility, whenever something happen, is given to that person. So no, we should do a self-evaluation, a very honest self-evaluation where we stand. If someone asks me in communication skill, where do you stand big? And I say I'm 10 out of 10. No, not at all. It, I'm not 10 out of 10. I can be 6 out of 10. I can be 7 out of 10. If any one of you might have heard a speaker like Shiv Khera in training domain, and if he starts speaking, he will speak for hours and you will be spellbound listening to him. एक मिनट के लिए आपका ध्यान भटकेगा नहीं. He is such a excellent speaker. You see how Shashi Tharoor speaks. Everyone else can't speak like that. So we have to do a very honest self evaluation. If you are not able to do a honest self evaluation of ourselves, probably it links again giving excuses, not taking your feedback seriously, not understanding what is being told. And the big thing and the big idea and big takeaway of the session is develop and improve. Every slide when we are presenting, if 200 words are being spoken 25 to 30 to 40 times, the word improvement and development and growth is coming, right? So opportunity to learn, develop, and improve. I'll give you my example. In fact, a couple of feedback that I have been uh, receiving during my initial days, and even at a very advanced stage. Not that you are always perfect. When you are a manager HR, you give a different kind of feedback and different kind of skill sets is expected from you. When you are senior manager or DGM or number two in the function, you are given a different kind of feedback. When you are heading the function, you get a different kind of you know uh, feedback. And uh, maybe after 12-15 years of my experience in HR, one of my managers said, when you talk, you don't keep a eye contact with the person you talk with. So I was shocked. I said, how come this is possible? Is that really true? And then I didn't respond. I took it positively, and then I started observing my behavior when I used to talk with other people. And then I realized that that feedback given was absolutely correct. I may not realize it. you know there are what we call the blind spots in our personality which we don't know. There is another big session can be conducted on Joe Harry's window, which talks about personality and blind stop and open space, etc., and how we reduce our blind spots. But that in any case will not be able to cover here. But yes, that's very interesting. Any one of you interested in reading, please Joe Harry, Johari, Joe Harry's window. Read it. It's very interesting and very useful tool in giving and receiving feedback and how feedback can lead to a better person, make us a better person in future, today or future. So we have to take it as an opportunity to learn and grow. I was at one point of time, I'll give you my example that uh, I went to somewhere with my HOD, and I was not so it was a campus recruitment activity, and that was my first campus recruitment. I was in campus and I was supposed to give the corporate presentation. And the presentation is started, and I kept sitting and started giving presentation. And then my boss indicated that इशारे से बोला कि you should stand up and give presentation. And thereafter, actually, I was almost fired कि how you can give a presentation and while you are sitting. The presenter should always stand and give presentation. And till date, even till date, even if I'm presenting something to 2-3 people in the people, still I stand, and then people say बैठ जाओ आराम से बात करते हैं ना, इसमें formality क्या है. Then I say I just can't stand, I don't feel comfortable and giving presentation while sitting, I can't do it. So that is how actually you take and perceive the feedback and work upon it, and over a period of time you will see wonderful uh, इम्प्रूवमेंट इन योर सेल्फ, ग्रोथ इन योर सेल्फ। अभी भी आप मुझे देख रहे होगे, मैं अब अभी पब्लिकली बोलता हूँ तो मैं लोगों की आंख में इतना आंख डालता हूँ कि वही आंख नीचे कर लेते हैं। So that is how it goes a long way in improving people if we take it positively. And next thing is the action plan. All feedback given and taken, and nothing happens, right? So no, that's not the thing. If feedback is given, her job related thing, that your sales is low, your customer relationship is low, your recruitment time cycle is low, your compliance is low, you delay in payroll processing, you make mistakes in payroll processing. So we have to take it and work where all I, falter and how I can improve it. And then there has to be action plan. Then similarly on behavioral aspects, if it has been said that if it has been said that your communication skill is not good, let's see how we can improve. We can even ask our managers or suggest a couple of things that what should I do to improve my communication skill. Then make a plan that next 3 months I'll do this, next 6 months I'll do this, and then keep on following it. Follow up on those actions plan. Am I doing it or not doing it? Unless we make an action plan, again, action plan has to be smart, specific, and time bound and achievable, etc. It all is smart goal. Again, part of the entire performance management system. We are only discussing a very small piece of the entire performance management system, which is feedback, and even in feedback, the subset is uh, taking feedback. So yeah, action plan has to be there. Otherwise, all feedback giving process, all receiving to feedback process will go in vain, will not have any impact on our behavior on our performance. So processing the feedback, internalizing it, working on it, taking it positively, and while taking feedback, being positive, being responsive, being sincere. So all these things has to be in place. Don't and self-evaluation. If we are not able to honestly evaluate ourselves, we will never improve. I am telling you, rest assured, unless we do honest self-evaluation. Yeah, at time you may disagree with the person who is giving your feedback. So I'm keeping a track on time, Kashish, so we'll be able to finish it in time. So maybe 10 minutes here and there, but we will be able to finish the session in time. So if we have actually, at times we may feel that the feedback that is given is not that correct, we can always set another meeting with my manager. That's sir, I would like to sit with you again for the feedback session, and we'll discuss it again. I have some doubt, need some more clarity. You can actually get it cross verified with some of your colleague who actually believes in your development and improvement. That देखो मेरे बॉस ने बोला कि तुम्हें बोलना नहीं आता, is it really true कि मुझे बोलना नहीं आता ठीक से? So we can always cross check, verify, get it validated by others. But the larger idea is to be open and receptive, because your manager is the person who is seeing you day in, day out from all angles, and he is the best person to give you feedback. So, and like in challenges we have discussed, we should not doubt his credibility, we should not doubt his fairness, we should not allow our emotions to come in between, to play in between. So, yeah, processing the feedback is the most important part. Anything at this point in now, at this point in time, any question, any doubts, any clarification anyone needs?
I just have one more point to add, because
Yes,
based
please.
on the experiences that Big has shared of his personal, that how the underlying message is that you should always leave your emotions aside when you're going for a feedback and think more professional. Because it's a very thin line that you can take it personally and apply it to the personal side. That why is this person at me? But it's the underlying message needs to be captured about the feedback, that it is for your own betterment. So अगर हम वो समझ लें, तो I think it is a win-win for everybody. So yeah, we can move to the
Human,
next.
Krishna,
Yeah,
anyone
sorry.
else? Lot of people are here. Mohit, Yash, Ritika, Soumya, Pooja. I really don't know who these people are. If time permits, I'll try to understand actually, what has been the
Mhm.
participant mix of this program, how many students, how many professionals, how many people from finance, how many people from sales and marketing, how many in customer, etc., etc., IT, HR. Anyway, yeah, we can go to the next slide, and Udita, you can lead.
Yeah, sure. So we have a small case study here, and
Mhm.
based on which we will invite your feedback on, like, if somebody can just read out this case study loud to everybody for us to understand. Yeah. Anybody who would like to read out the case study?
Can I read?
Me,
Go
Krishna.
ahead, Krishna. Yeah.
Okay, so ABC Innovations, including is a mid-sized
Incorporated.
Incorporate is a mid-sized technology company specializing in software development, and the organization prides itself on fostering a culture of continuous improvement. But many employees find it challenging to receive feedback, particularly constructive feedback, and leading to a lack of engagement in discussions and missed opportunity for growth. This was evident in performance review, the and a team meeting where feedback often resulted in tension rather than constructive dialogue. Suggest a way to improve the feedback system of that particular organization.
Thank you, Krishna. Okay. So now, as we've seen, this is a company who really fosters in growth, and, like, they focus a lot on development and improvement. But they have a set of employees who are not willing to take the feedback constructively, which is kind of acting as a roadblock, and it's also hampering their own growth. It was when they sat across in the feedback sessions, it was more of a tension based session rather than a constructive dialogue. So I open the floor to all of you to say, I mean, to suggest ways in which this company can kind of think of better ways to improve a feedback system and an engagement with employees. Any thoughts? Yeah,
So
Umang,
I
please
think
go
at
ahead.
this point in time, we are to an extent better equipped to take this case study and suggest means, having understood the concept, having understood the challenges involved, having understood the process, and having understood how to receive feedback. So this is whatever we have been discussing past 1 hour. I think we all will should be able to suggest something what this company should do.
Please go ahead. Umang.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much, Adita.
Yeah.
So, basically, if some of the people has been taking feedbacks as a criticism, the best practice one can follow in the organization is coaching. Because whenever we give instant feedback to somebody, that may lead to a misunderstanding to someone. So, what I believe is asking relevant questions, including them into the discussions, are very important, because if there will be we call it there is a statement, we call it three yes. If we are able to take three yes from them, I think that will become more easier for a feedback giver to give the proper feedback to the person. So we should also have to get engaged in the situation. We have to recognize them, we have to ask them the question that, was there the situation which happened, what was your action, what better could be done. So if they will give the answers from themselves, after a certain point of time they will also realize that yes, the better thing could be done at that particular point of time. So that time I believe feedback can be more constructive, and that some of the people would not take it as a criticism.
Absolutely.
Very
Awesome
rightly
response.
said.
Yes.
Others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what I
Can,
think, like, whenever we give feedback on a regular basis to the employees, so they might fed up by receiving a feedbacks, right? So in that scenario, if we are giving them feedback, first I think we can appreciate them what they are doing well and good. And in middle of the conversation, you can also give a feedback, and in the end, you can motivate them like you are doing well and you can do it because you initially have done the well. So this thing also help them to understand this is a thing where I need to improve, and they will also encourage, right, this thing encourage them to work and put their effort in that particular thing. Yeah.
absolutely right. Utkarsh, let's hear
Uh,
from you. I'll come back to you, Poonam. Sorry.
Hi, Adita. Hi, Mr. Bag.
Hi.
So, first of all, thank you so much for conducting this session. This is so much insightful. I really appreciate by came to know lots of things like on the feedback itself. And based on this case, my input is that the feedback should be a sandwich. Like, firstly, we should be, you can say, specific towards the points like why the feedback is important and what are the specific points to be covered, right? Because the person who is giving the feedback should be more empathetic and telling the person who is receiving the feedback like why it is important to them, because the person who is giving the feedback, his job is to improve the person to whom he is sharing the feedback. And now when I call the sandwich, so first he should be talking about the what the strengths he or she is carrying, what best he or she has done, and then coming to the areas of improvement, and not just telling like this is an area that you can improve, but also giving the suggestion how positive you can improve, what are the parameters you are lacking and what you can do so that it can be improved. So in that manner, this criticism will be removed, what as per my understanding.
Well said. Well said.
So
Thank
let
you.
me, before we go to Poonam, so Utkarsh has very rightly touched one point, and he used that terminology, the sandwich approach. And since giving feedback is not within the purview of this session, we have not touched. So the sandwich approach is used in giving feedback rather, right? So the sandwich is you give a positive feedback, then you give a constructive feedback, and then you come back to positive feedback, and then you go back to again constructive feedback. So the constructive feedback, or to be more blunt, the negative feedback is sandwiched between two good feedbacks, and then that the feeling of heartburn to a great extent gets minimized. So that is what the sandwich approach of giving feedback is all about, which he has touched upon. Thank you very much for bringing in this topic for brief discussion. Poonam, thank to you too. Over to you.
Okay, thanks for relying back. So I was like to understand, first of all, I'll go with Umang. He was rightly said that if some employees are not able to take the feedback, it means they need a coaching session as well. Because many people are taking this feedback. Why the other people are not taking the feedback? That is the major question from the organization point of view also. So they need a coaching session for the same, that yes, I think there is a like criticism from there, and also like why they feel that feedback is a criticism. Okay, and about how we can give the feedback, it can be constructive. It is an opportunity for change and growth, how the employees can give their best in their growth purpose also. Because sometimes it happens how they are getting the feedback, how they are taking the feedback, that is also very important. Okay, so why they are feeling this, so that for that they need a coaching sessions.
Or to identify gaps, maybe, where
Yes,
there is a gap in
absolutely.
their understanding, right? um,
Absolutely.
yeah. And as you see, in this case study, when you see there are these guys who are pushing back, so could this also be a case where they possibly need a coaching on active listening? They are not even listening, they're just forming an interpretation. That could be also one of the gaps, why they are not, some of them are not listening, and they're just pushing back before listening. So yeah, I mean, it's I think it's a combination of all the things and all the inputs, great inputs that you all have given, and that's what can kind of work towards an improved feedback system. Big.
Yeah. So what all of you have spoken on the right lines, in fact, and what is coming out here is, and that is correct also, that we need sensitization, we need training, we need coaching of the people who are giving feedback and who are also receiving feedback. And another thing that we should keep in mind while doing such organizational level interventions, we should not single out people that okay, these three managers will be coached on giving feedback, and these 10 employees out of 50 employees will be coached on receiving feedback. If we do that, they will be singled out, they will feel bad about it. So if we have an apprehension that our feedback process is not working, then we should do coaching or training intervention or those kind of sensitization session for everyone in the organization, not singling out couple of people. That sends a wrong message. Actually, that singles out, and they will feel bad about it. So any or these kind of organizational development initiative should cover everyone. Even if someone is very good in giving feedback, put that gentleman also in that group of, where intervention is happening. If some people are very positively taking feedback, put them also in the session, so that it doesn't work out that XYZ is bad in receiving feedback and ABC is bad in giving feedback. So all such organizational intervention should focus and address everyone in the organization, even if that may not be at that point in time areas of improvement for them. So that's what I would like to add. And yes, the remedy to this problem is training, coaching, and maybe intervention from the top to follow the feedback process in letter and spirit. If the CEO does it, the proper feedback giving and taking session of his people will do down the line, and this is how the cascading effect will happen. So, and that takes us now to, the conclusion. So we have understood the concept of feedback. So it's a two-way process. It's a communication process. It's about, talking about the performance. It's talking about behavior, and it's about improvement. And there are challenges involved. People may be having low self-worth esteem. People may have some emotional issues. People may be, not open to listen to. They may not accept the feedback. They may react violently. So these are some of the challenges. And then to receive, we have to be, open. So we have discussed all those things, and what actually is the big takeaway is feedback is always for improvement, is always for improvement, and that is big takeaway. The more we take, the more positively and openly we take, the better for us, the better for our improvement. So that brings us, and we'll take feedback. But Shreya or Kashish, whoever is handling the PPT, let's come back to the learning objective slide and see what all we have done, what we have missed out. If we have missed out, so some of adding without adding anything to it, if couple you can share your
Hi,
feedback in couple of words, and then we will wind up.
hi Devanshi, how are you? Yeah,
Thank you for
doing
your
great.
time, everyone. Thank you for coming online today.